Okay, so now we're going to look at a system of equations, but instead of two variables and two equations, we have three variables, x, y, and z. So because we have three variables that we need to solve for, we need three equations. So this is a 3 by 3 system. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can approach this. We can use methods of elimination and substitution all together to try to eliminate one variable so that we can get it into a two variable system like we're used to. So let's first start by doing that. Again, like I said, there's a couple different options, and if you notice, we can cancel out these y's or the second and third y. We can multiply this by a -1 and cancel out the z's altogether. There's a whole bunch of ways to start, so it's kind of up to you. So I'm just going to decide to cancel out these two y's right here. Okay, so by doing that, I'm going to add down just like we were to do elimination. So let me rewrite this. Okay, so what's going to eliminate is the y's, but I am left with 2x. Those add to 0. Plus 2z equals 11. Okay, now I can't go any further because I still have two unknowns. So what I need to do is cancel out another set of y's so that we can have another equation just like this. So I'm going to use this second and third one and do that elimination problem. So I'm not going to rewrite it. I'm just going to kind of do it here, but please note I'm only looking at these two. So I have 6x, the y's cancel to add to 0, minus 2z equals 24. I'm sorry about that, 34. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my two new two-variable equations and write those as a system. So I have 3x plus 2z equals 11, and then 6x minus 2z equals 34. And the nice part about this is if we solve this regularly, the two z's cancel out, so we don't even have to multiply anything, they just eliminate right away. So I'm left with 9x equals 45. Now we can solve for x dividing by 9, so x equals 5. Okay, so now that we know x equals 5, we need to go back and solve for y and z. So what I'm first going to do is look at which ones can eliminate maybe a z or a y so that we can get rid of and solve for the other one. So the first thing I see is, again, the same thing right here. I see these y's canceling out. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to substitute 5 in for the x's. Okay? So 5, 5, 5 here, right? Okay, so I have 5 minus 3y plus 3z equals -4. So I want a two-variable equation. So I have that because I can subtract 5 from both sides, and I'm left with 3y plus 3z equals -9. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing with the second equation up here. 2 times 5 is 10 plus 3y minus z equals 15. Subtract 10 and we get 3y minus z equals 10. I'm sorry, 5. So now I'm going to take both of these equations and I'm going to put this one underneath the other so that I can solve the system. Okay, so we're going to eliminate. The y's eliminate, they add to give you 0, and you're left with 2z equals -4. Divide by 2, and now we have z equaled to -2. Alright, so Now all I need is one equation, and I'm just going to plug it in. Anyone. So let's pick the first one. X we know is 5. Minus 3 times y. We don't know y. That's what we're solving for. Plus 3 times negative 2, because we just found that z is now negative 2. And again, I'm working with this top equation. Equals negative 4. Alright, so I have 5 minus 3y minus 6 equals negative 4, which comes to negative 1 minus 3y equal to negative 4. If you add 1 to both sides, you get 3y equals negative 3. So y equals 1 after we divide by negative 3. Well, there it is. We solve for every single variable. So we write our answers as a coordinate point again, but we're going to write it in alphabetical order, x, comma, y, comma, z. So it's 5, comma, 1, comma, negative 2, and you can put parentheses around that too. So I walked you through the way that I would start doing it. It doesn't mean that you have to start it that way, but it's a big puzzle that you want to try to organize and set variables up on each other so that they eliminate, so that you have a 2-variable equation system so that you can solve for 1, and then you go back and you do it again. So keep that in mind. You don't have to do it exactly the way I did, but make sure you wrote everything down. And if you need to, go back and watch this video again, because this is definitely a tough skill.